my name's Emily and this is my channel, The Redheaded Ravenclaw. I'm sitting in front of my TBR shelf today because I'm going to be just doing a little chatty video about becoming a young adult librarian, my master's degree program, what I've done so far, what I'm currently working on, and then the rest of the program before I finish up. So I guess I'm going to start with the program, what school it is, and where I'm hoping to go with this. I'm about to start my second year of the program, which is the final year. I am doing this through Texas Women's University. I'm doing it online because I work full-time in a different state, and so obviously I can't do it, but the reason I chose Texas Women's is because its online program is accredited, which is what most people look for when hiring someone for a library degree, is to make sure that it's through an accredited program. So far I've taken 6 courses, and on Monday I start my next semester and I'll be in 3 more courses. So let me just go through each semester, what classes I took and what they entailed, and then I'll talk about the future of my degree program and what is going to happen once I finish up. I have my little notebook with my notes here. So in my first semester, I took Foundations of Library and Information Studies, which is just your basic course about becoming a librarian, about the history of libraries, about the different types of libraries that have occurred through history, and kind of the different knowledge about the basic types of library, which are public, school, which is your typical public school library, academic, and then special libraries. And right now I work in an academic library, but my future goal is to work in a public library as a young adult librarian or a teen librarian. And so this course, the Foundations course, just like its title, just gave the basic information. We did some projects like a library tour assignment where we had to go and ask questions to the director or somebody who worked there and check out all of the different aspects of a library, and just different things like that to become familiar with libraries. Even though, most of us who are pursuing this degree are really familiar with different libraries, we had to get out of our comfort zone and go to a library we'd never been to before. So I really enjoyed that course, and it reassured me that I do want to become a librarian. And then I also, in that semester, took Information Retrieval, which is basically teaching you how to do research and teaching you how to teach patrons how to do research. And so in that course we learned all about databases, how to search them to the best of your ability and to get the most out of the databases. A lot of the class we spent searching different databases, working on retrieving the most solid and accurate amount of information that we could. And then other projects were just searching projects through other sources, including just doing Google versus doing a Google search, I should say, versus doing a search in a database such as EBSCOhost or JSTOR. And then we did things like, physically searching through books for information and just learning how best to explain to patrons how to find the most accurate and most effective information that they can find. And then the third course I took that semester was Information and Communication Technology, and to be completely honest, I do not remember very much about this course. I remember it being kind of boring, just for my personal interests, for what I want to do as a librarian in the future. And so I believe it was pretty similar to the Information Retrieval course, and we focused on the different kinds of technologies that give us information, that allow us to give information back to our patrons. I believe we talked about technologies like 3D printing and the different kinds of things that were advancing librarianship and kind of how we need to accommodate our patrons in the library. So it was interesting, but it was also like something that isn't directly related towards becoming a young adult librarian, so I don't remember it as well. So that was my first semester. And then the second semester, I started taking courses that were more directly, I was able to start taking courses more directly linked to my specific goal, which is, again, young adult librarianship. And so I was able to take a children's and young adult literature course, which I absolutely loved. It was wonderful. We went through several different types of genres, including picture books, and then poetry, nonfiction, historical fiction, and then like fantasy and contemporary. And it was really, really interesting. For each of the different sections I just mentioned, we had to read 3 books, and our professor gave us a list that we had to choose from. And so for some of them, I got to read books, especially YA books that I had been wanting to read for a really long time but just hadn't picked up yet. And then for picture books, it was really fun to, just be able to take some time out of the day to read a picture book when normally, I wouldn't think to do that. And it exposed me to some different genres that I normally wouldn't lean towards, such as poetry. And so I really, really enjoyed that. We talked a lot about the awards that are awarded to children and young adult books and the importance of recommending those, but also the importance of recommending books outside of those as well. And so that was my first dip into actually what I want to pursue, and I loved it. And so I'm really excited for this semester, which I'll talk about in a little bit. That second semester, I also took collection development, which was a surprisingly really tough course. And it's all about creating your collection that you have in your library. And so we learned about not only what you need to pick to create your collection, but also how to get rid of things if they're in poor quality, or if they are not meeting the needs of the library, and what kinds of statistics and records you need to keep to maintain your library's collection. And our big final project was basically to create a collection based on the theme that we selected at the beginning. So for me, I chose young adult contemporary with LGBTQIA+ main characters. And I went from there, and I had to create an entire collection that had positive representation of those, and develop a collection based around that theme. And it was a lot of hard work because we had to spend a certain amount of hypothetical money to create this collection, and we had to use as much of that money as we could. And so I had to pick out 100+ books and other resources to include in the collection. And it was a really tough project, but I enjoyed doing that, and I learned a lot from that process. And the final class I took last semester was information organization, which was a really easy class for me because it was a really easy class for me because I pride myself on being organized. I love organizing things. My current job revolves around organization, and so this class was really a breeze for me. We did many projects in terms of information organization. I think the most memorable one, we had to go to a grocery store and see how the items were organized both on the shelf, how the signage was organized, what was on the perimeter of the grocery store. And it was really fun to just kind of watch the people in the grocery store watching me take notes and things like that. So information organization is different for each person because everybody's minds works differently and everybody functions in a different way in terms of like how we receive information, how we store information, and what works for us. And so it was really interesting to think about how other people function with their organization versus how I do. So this semester, like I said, I start on Monday. I'm taking library management, which is like the one class I'm not super excited about this semester, but I don't want to judge it too harshly before I even start it. It's not directly related to YA librarianship, and it's just a required course I have to take. So I'm sure that it's more towards like what constitutes keeping a library running, which is also, it's very important information. It's just gonna be like, I feel like it's gonna be a slog compared to my other two courses, which are directly related to my career path. And those are youth programs and multicultural literature for children and young adults. So those I'm really, really excited about. Youth programs, I have a colleague who that's her like wheelhouse, and she's super excited to like see what I'm learning and help me out with it if I need help. And I think this class is gonna be really pivotal in helping me like, decide if this is truly the direction I want to go in librarianship. And I'm pretty certain that I definitely want to be a young adult librarian. But with youth programs, it's going to allow me to see, what I need to do in order to be like providing for these kids, and for, getting them interested in reading, getting them interested in being in the library, keeping them entertained with different programs is like key to, my job in the future. And then multicultural literature for children and young adults is super exciting as well, because I always want to be reading more diversely, and I'm, a white female, so I can't say much for representation, but I'm really excited to read other things from other cultures, and just experience new books that I may be unaware of, or books that I have already been interested in, but have a completely different representation from what I'm familiar with or from what my personal experience is. And I am like a huge advocate for providing these resources for kids so that they are being able to read stories about people like them. And so I'm really excited to see what the professor has in store for us. And so that's the point that I'm at right now. Then the next semester, I will be taking 2 or possibly 3 classes depending on a couple of different factors. For sure, I'm going to be taking information sources and services, and a course called the public library. And I think the public library is just like talking about the history of public library, what purposes the libraries have served throughout history, and things like that. And then information sources and services, I'm not super sure what that one's about, but it's a required course. And then the other potential class that I would be taking is literacy programs in libraries. And then so technically that would be my last semester, but since I work full-time, I am going to be doing my practicum in the summer after that semester, because you have to get 120 hours of experience working in interning in the library type that you want to eventually work in. So right now I work in an academic library, and you can't really do your practicum in the library that you are employed by. And so I want to do my practicum in a public library, since that's where I want to work eventually. And with that, I'll have to be traveling, I'll have to be spending time working and interning in a different place. So I'm going to be doing it in the summer. That way I have time to travel, to be doing those hours. And so then I'll be finished with my degree in August of 2020 if everything works well. So just one more year before I can say that I have a master's degree and be able to become a young adult librarian. So I'm super, super excited about the next year, where things are going to go, and completing this goal. And I don't know if I've talked about this on my channel yet, but I did not originally go into college wanting to be a librarian. When I started college, I wanted to be a marriage and family therapist, and my bachelor's degree is in sociology with a minor in psychology, and I didn't decide that I wanted to go to library school until after spring break of my senior year of college. And I graduated college a year early, just because of AP credits and concurrent credit in high school. And so I kind of had an existential crisis, and then I was like, hey, I love being in libraries, I love books, why don't I check out what it takes to become a librarian? And then here we are today. So it was kind of a whirlwind thing, but I've already completed 1 year of my master's program, and I'll be done next year, and then I'll be trying to get a job as a young adult librarian. So I'm super, super excited to see what the next year holds in terms of these courses that I'm going to be taking, and then what the future holds after that in terms of where I'll find a job and what I'll be able to do as a young adult librarian. So if you have any questions about library school, or why I want to be a young adult librarian, or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment for me, and I will gladly answer. And yeah, I guess that's it for now. I will see y'all next week with my August wrap up, I believe, and until then, I will see y'all later. Bye.